Fires a long one.
Oh,
Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Nat. I'm your host, Natalie, but most people call me Nat. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Mo. She's one of my mutuals, someone who we follow each other on Twitter. She is a lifelong just Atlanta sports area fan. You can see if you're watching on video, she's wearing her Hawks t-shirt. She goes to like almost every Hawks game. So I'm super jealous when they're at home. And like she just knows this team. And she's also just coming off a celebration of her baseball team winning. So I'm going to let Mo introduce herself to you and let you know where you can find her. But, you know, I always love chopping it up with women who know sports, and especially those who are like basketball fiends like me. And so I'm so happy to welcome you to the show, Mo. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me, Nat. As you can see, I am an Atlanta Hawks fan. I've been an Atlanta Hawks fan because I'm originally from Atlanta. I was born and raised in Atlanta, and that's all that I know. Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta Dream, and then of course, Georgia State University. I graduated from Georgia State University with a criminal justice degree. So sports has been an outlet for me. I've been attending the Atlanta Hawks game since I can afford it, since I started working. I started paying for my own tickets, right? Because I was at first coming with my family, and it's a joy to be able to support the Atlanta Hawks. It's been very exciting.
So I mean, you've been through the ups and the downs, right? And so what is it like now, right now in Atlanta, and just for like fans of the team with like coming off of a playoff run where you guys got to the Eastern Conference Finals? I mean, when's the last time you guys have gotten there?
Well, keep in mind, in 2015, we were undefeated in the month of January.
That's
And
right.
we've been there before. We just hit a rough patch, and we had to we had to basically start all over again. So it's very difficult for a fan like me to see the highs and then have to come all the way back down.
That year, that's when Al Horford was on the team.
Al Horford, Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap. We had all of those players, and we also had Mike Budenholzer as our coach, who is now the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. So it was a joyous time. But of course, you know, one of my players had an encounter with the New York Police Department, Cephalosha,
Yeah.
when they broke his leg, and it just went down here from there. So
Wait, was that during that run? That was during that
Mhm.
season?
It was at the end of that. I think it was at the end of January, because I think we were 17-0 that month. We were undefeated in the month of January, and we were on a verge. Like, we were really going to challenge LeBron James in Cleveland, but you know, things happen, and here we are.
Yeah. I mean, so that team, you know, well, first of all, a lot of those guys you named, they were a lot younger. So they were like in their primes, or maybe near the end of their primes, but like they were still like really good, great players then at that time. Like Kyle Korver was still Kyle Korver, and you know, the others you named. But people sort of, you guys won a lot of games that year, over 60 games that season, right?
I think it was over 60 games that season. Mm-hmm.
And but Budenholzer, is that how I say his name?
Mike, just call him Mike. Budenholzer.
Yeah, Mike was the coach, and like until the Bucks just won, people really were not a believer in him. And I mean, I think there were a lot of doubters for that team. I'm sure you used to hear that. So like, was that because I mean, people kind of like talk about that team and clown them. They did still get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but like you guys had some injuries. You just had some unfortunate luck during that playoff run that I definitely think affected it. No one likes to make excuses. I understand that, but I'm a big believer in like, look, there are reasons that certain things happen. I don't like to overlook them. So like, how frustrating was that for you? Like when all of that happened, when you guys were like kind of rolling the whole season?
Well, it's frustrating when I hear people talk about when they compare other teams to the Atlanta Hawks in terms of a disappointment. I know they compare the Utah Jazz run last year to the Atlanta Hawks, saying that they're good regular season or they're a good regular season team, but then when they get to the playoff, it's something different. I was kind of like offended by that because I don't think a lot of people understood that a lot of things that they had to deal with was beyond their control, like the New York Police Department. And then, of course, Cal Corver was injured by, I can't think of his name. He was with the Mavs. I mean, the Cavs. I'm sorry. I can't think of his name. Dellavedova. I call him Dellavedova, but Dellavedova,
Delhi.
we had quite a bit of an incident with our players where we felt like he was dirty. So whenever people talk about the Atlanta Hawks team, they fail to realize that, again, a lot of things that happened to the players were beyond their control, such as injuries and, such as injuries and, of course, court appearances, because our coach actually had to go to court to testify on behalf of Thabo Sefolosha. And if you're a coach trying to, you know, coach a team and then be a witness for them, that's a lot.
Right.
So, mm-hmm.
So,
and then,
I mean,
Danny Ferry, when those comments leaked, I think Luol Deng, those African comments, he was actually reading a scouting report from the Cleveland Cavaliers on Luol Deng. And obviously, for some apparent reason, a lot of people thought that those were his words. And we had to let go of Danny Ferry. So Mike Budenholzer.
they weren't his words.
No, they were not his words. He was reading a scouting report based out of Cleveland.
I see.
Because we had just traded, I think we had just traded for Luol, or we was interested
Can you give a little background on that for like, because anyone who might be listening who doesn't remember that incident, I don't want to assume everyone remembers it. Could you just give like a brief background on that? What happened?
Well, what it was Atlanta was under a different ownership, right? And there was some bickering amongst the owners. I think some of the owners were happy with the direction that Danny Ferry went, and some of them weren't happy. And for some apparent reason, they were in a meeting. They were discussing players that they were going to potentially target at the trade deadline. And Danny Ferry read a scouting report out of Cleveland based on, about Luol Deng. And for some apparent reason, that the word or whatever happened in that meeting were leaked out to the press. And it came off as if those were his words. Did the Atlanta Hawks do a good job of getting behind Danny Ferry? No. So they allowed him to take the hit. And of course, because
the words were derogatory about the player, right?
Mm-hmm. I have to look up those. I would have to look at.
No, we don't have to. No.
I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of African, being good because you're African, I believe. But we had to let him go, and then of course we had to fight allegations of being a racist organization. So that's why we ended up hiring a chief diversity officer to sort of bridge the gap, because Atlanta is majority African Americans.
Right.
You can't have those racial problems with a black player in a black city. So, right. But we managed to get out of that.
So, and because before that kind of era of the Hawks, it was like the last time you guys were like in the playoffs, it was like what, the Josh Smith era, right?
Yes. Joe Johnson. Those were, and like I said, I love those years. I wouldn't take back anything about any player that played for played for the Atlanta Hawks. We've had some memorable moments in the playoffs. Joe Johnson's buzzer beaters, Josh Smith's dunk. I will never forget that team.
Okay. So there's a difference though now with this team, and that is that you guys have Trae Young. So you have a bona fide star, yes, which is a little bit different. You had some great players before, but Trae, I think, is, looked upon as like one of the stars in the league. He's been an all-star. I think Atlanta Hawks fans, as well as Trae and other people on the team, felt like he was snubbed last year, right? You guys are coming off of an Eastern Conference Finals run. where Trey became a menace to the the New York fans at Madison Square Gardens. He's kind of like the new age Reggie Miller, right?
Mhm.
And I think exceeded a lot of people's expectations, not Atlanta Hawks fans, but
Mhm.
like exceeded a lot of people's expectations. So how are you feeling about the team after that? And they're, you know, what you expect for them this season based off of, you know, what happened last year.
Well, I mean, they've exceeded expectations, but now that those expectations have been placed upon them, they have to meet them. I mean, it's just a period point blank. There, there's no longer going to be the days of, oh, he's just young, he's growing, we're rebuilding. You can't rebuild anymore. You can't go back. You either have to compete or contend. There's nothing else. So right now we're struggling because it's a good thing to have depth, but a lot of times it's what you do with the depth that matters. So you may have one player that's not happy about the minutes that he's getting, and another player not happy about, how he's being used. So right now the Hawks are having to, figure out how they're going to play together. What rotation work well with each other. And again, like I said, it all starts with Trae Young and it starts with the coaching staff. We not only did we brought back the same group, but we changed our coaching staff a bit. And I think that requires some adjustments for the players. Hmm.
How did you said the coaching staff changed?
Hmm. Yes.
So Nate brought in some new people
Nate
or
brought in, I mean, he brought in his son, and then that came from, I think his son worked for the New Orleans Pelicans. And I'm a big believer of, looking into or judging a person based on where they come from. And I didn't think that New Orleans Pelicans did a good job of developing their players. So I was already kind of iffy about him, bringing in his son, because, I wanted to know exactly what type of impact was he going to have on the Hawks player. I mean, I don't see much of an impact in New Orleans. So that was a concern for me. I think we brought, I can't think of his name. I'll get back to it, but we did bring in another coach that I like. He was our coach before. And I
okay.
can't think of his name right now. I'll come back to it.
So do you think, because there were some interesting quotes recently, um how many losses have you guys had now in a row? Is it two or three?
We are no, we are 4-5. So we have
You're
five
four and
losses.
five, but how many in a
Yes,
row
four
have you had?
wins and how many in a row? Oh, probably about three. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So um there were some quotes recently from Trey and Nate, but Trey said something along the lines around, kind of lacking motivation, maybe like after coming off of like last year, not lacking,
Mm-hmm.
but like just needing to get motivating and saying like, look, I'm gonna admit to you, it's kind of hard, to like we got to get motivated kind of a thing. And then I think Nate talked
Mm-hmm.
about like needing two-way players and needing guys, who do certain things, and the team hasn't really changed that much from last
Yeah.
year. So what do you think? I mean, do you think it's just the adjusting to the coaching changes? Were you surprised to hear like those comments? Do you think that's playing more of a factor than maybe you would have thought before?
I asked that they would interview other players because I totally feel like that's how Trae Young feels. Um, but I don't think that's reflective of the other players. You got to keep in mind, Cam Reddish didn't hardly play last year, so he wouldn't be tired. He wouldn't be exhausted. He's ready to play. DeAndre Hunter didn't play as much last season, so he's not feeling the same way as Trey. So I wouldn't necessarily say that quote fits all the players. That's probably fits Trey where he's at. Maybe he's bored because Trey grew really fast. Trey takes his off season serious. So his where he's at versus where some of his teammates at may not be on the same level. And I think that's where he means when he says bored. Like, I'm just tired. Like, I'm ready to compete. Like, give me, we need to go ahead and compete. Everybody needs to be on the same level. So it can be boring when you're waiting for them to develop other players because we are trying to get Cam Reddish where the other players are at. Because Cam Reddish missed roughly 2 years, his
Right.
rookie season and then last season. So in the
He's been
process of
struggling a little
trying
bit, right?
I'm
He's
sorry.
he's been struggling a little, Cam.
No, he actually has been doing well, but the problem has been they've been cutting into Kevin Herter's minutes.
Oh, it's
So you're
Kevin
cutting
who's been
into
struggling. I'm
Kevin,
confusing
yeah,
them.
Kevin has definitely been struggling but they've been cutting into his minute to develop Cam, and I'm like, you have to find a way to make them work, and it starts in practice. I don't know exactly what our players are doing in practice, but whatever is happening is not translating on the court because we're number one in turnovers, and I think we're 27th in defense. So you cannot turn the ball over and be that poor in defense. So a lot of the Atlanta Hawks issue with defense is transition. They don't get back. When you turn the ball over, you're probably that player is probably not hustling back. You got to hustle back. You got to get in the way. You got to block some shots. I also noticed that Capella doesn't have a lift. Capella does a lot more than what the stat sheet shows. No, he's not going to give you a 20-20 every game. But what he does is he basically prevents those transition points. Because when the Hawks are missing shots, or even when he misses his own shots, he's grabbing the rebound. So what is that doing? That's giving us extra possession. We're not getting those extra possessions. It's like one shot and we're back to playing defense.
So that's interesting that you guys are struggling a little bit on defense because Nate is known to be a defensive minded coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, isn't that one of the things that sort of turned around the season last year? Because you guys were, I don't know, maybe hovering around 500 or not, or maybe a little below. I don't recall the exact record. And then there was a coaching change mid-season and Nate came in and it's like the Hawks took off. Right. And I mean, he changed things, but a lot of that too was like, at least for me on the outside looking in,
Mm-hmm.
like the defense got better, like Trey was really buying in, so it's interesting to see that there are some defensive struggles this year.
The defense, again, as I said, it comes down to not taking care of the ball and not making good decisions with the ball. I think that the Hawks should be better in defense, but I feel like Capella doesn't have that lift. A lot of your defense is keeping the possession within, keeping the possession so that you can continue to score, minimizing your opponent's, possession. And we're not getting as many of those rebounds. I also think that we're struggling. We're putting more energy on offense than we are on defense. When the Hawks drafted Cam Reddish and they drafted DeAndre Hunter, they were under the, impression that they would be getting two-way players. Well, in my opinion, based on my observation, we only have one,
Okay.
and that's
And who's
Hunter.
that? Which one's that? Okay.
Hunter. You know, Cam Reddish has done really well as far as, trying to get his offense going, but he has to do it on both sides of the ball. And sometimes I feel like with him, whenever his shots are not going or falling or he doesn't get the touches, it's not there. The defense is not there. But then also, Herter has improved in defense. But if his minutes are cut, you're not getting his defense. We're playing a lot more. We're playing a lot more Lou Williams. Lou Williams as a point guard as opposed to Lou Williams as a shooting guard. So I feel like he's not being played in a position that he would thrive in. He's better
Okay.
shooting. That's why he's the sixth man for a reason, not facilitating and then trying to get a shot. I thought DeLon Wright would fit in, but he's struggling. He's struggling so bad that Nate hasn't played him the last 2 or 3 games. So DeLon is just literally sitting on the bench while we play Kevin Herter and Lou Williams as point guard. But as Hawks fans, we knew last year that was not effective. We knew last year that playing Gallinari and John Collins together was not effective. So no wonder we're bottom three in the defense because we're trying things that this year that we knew didn't work last year or last season. Why are you continuing to try the same thing? Why are you trying to make these work? We have to make DeLon Wright work, or it'll be a waste of time trading for him.
I mean, Cam Reddish has been in trade talks before. Do you think that there's a fit for him on the squad? Because it seems like, from what you said, it's affecting the development of Herder.
Hmm. I think I think Cam Reddish. I think how they're being used is more of the issue than his development. I think Cam Reddish is so puzzling to me because on there's some games where he can play lights out. I mean, like the shots are there, he's taking really good shots, but then on other nights, not only is his shots not falling, but he's not making good decisions with the ball. So I think with Cam Reddish, it is finding a fit on his team. But for me, I'm looking for him to be the defensive stopper on the second unit when DeAndre Hunter and Capella goes out. Because DeAndre Hunter is our best defender. Then Cam is supposed to be number two. But so far it looks like it's DeAndre Hunter, not Luol Deng, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, and John Collins. And then everybody else. But we're looking for go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, we're just looking for Cam Reddish to be that two-way player so that if he's not scoring, he's at least impacting the defense.
So have they, in the games that they've won, right, versus the game that they lost, you guys are one game now under 500. Have you seen a difference in the games where they got wins versus what they got losses? Like, are you seeing any notable differences that you can say? Like, I know, like the Warriors lost one game this season. And I mean, by no means have we been perfect every game. There's like things to improve in every game. But what's notable in the game that they lost is like the turnovers, and the Warriors have always been a high turnover team. But the turnovers that game was like 22. Like you're not going to beat many teams if you have 22 turnovers. And I know that is it the GM who's over there? But he came from the Warriors organization.
Yeah, so I was going to get on that.
The philosophies are a little bit different. So I know there's like, I mean, that's part of the reason why they drafted Trey. Not like, I don't like the Trey Steph comparison, so that's not where I'm going. But in terms of like philosophies, basketball philosophies, ball movement, that kind of thing, using, his abilities as a point guard.
The thing is, whenever Atlanta has hired a GM, we were always under the impression that they would take on the persona of the team that the GM was hired from. So when we hired Danny Ferry, our focus was on running a Popovich type offense. And it worked. It worked in 2015 until the injuries, right? So when we hired Travis Schlenk from Golden State, we was under the impression that, we're going to, play similar to Golden State. But as you notice, Golden State is similar to the Spurs. So the Spurs is the grandfather of the offense in the league right now. So when we hired Trae Young, we weren't expecting Trae Young to be Steph Curry. We were just expecting Trae Young to lead our team in scoring and assists the same way as he did at Oklahoma, right? So to be honest, we going from Lloyd Pierce to Nate McMillan, we really don't know each one's philosophy. But what I can tell you is that Nate McMillan is not on. I don't know his philosophy. I think his philosophy focuses more on mid-range shot. And if that is the case, then this team won't thrive. Because you notice the league is what? Threes and what? Paint buckets, right? Baskets.
But it does seem like there's like a trend to move like towards like with the rule changes, that does seem like it's an effort to give defenders, a little bit more flexibility. So I feel like that would be a benefit for a coach like Nate, right? Because I mean,
it may benefit him, but the personnel, you have to coach according to your personnel. You can't coach to how you want them to play. It's what would best fit the player. You know what I mean? So I think that's another part of the struggle is figuring out the best way to use the players on his roster as opposed to trying to make them adapt to what he has. Like, here's the thing. He took over the second half of last season, right? He didn't change much because it was too late to change. You don't want to change the offense to do anything in the middle of a season. Just continue to let them do what they were already doing and just add your own. What it looks like this season is that he just totally scrapped everything that they were doing. And he's doing his own thing and it's just not fitting the players.
Has he talked about
And
it at all? Like changes to his system and why?
he, you
Because
know, he's
I don't watch the
Mhm.
Hawks except usually like when they're on national TV. So I I don't follow them in and out. So I don't know. Sorry. I don't know like what kind of changes he's making, but has he spoken about why he might be trying to change the system and have them play differently? Like, did he see weaknesses in last year? Or, I mean, has anyone spoken about it or talked about why it might be happening?
Our writers are. Our writers are talking about it, like our bloggers are talking about it. But as far as the beat writers, they haven't asked him that question yet. Probably because we're 9 games into the season and they want to see if it continues before asking him the question. But the fans have caught on to it. We're noticing that we're taking way more mid-range shots than we are taking, threes.
And what are like the media saying, the ones who like cover the team? You said they haven't asked him, but what are they saying? You know, are
Well,
they
at the
even
rim, we're taking 31% shots at the rim. Short mid ranges are 22.8%. Long mid ranges are 17.2%. All mid ranges are 40.1%. Corner threes, 6.1%. Non corners, 22.8, and all three, 28.9. So we're taking 28.9 threes and 40.1% mid ranges. We're like, what's going on? And at the last game, I was like, literally asking for my second half team back. I literally like chanted to the players like, "Can we get our second half team back?" Because what we're basically seeing is the same team that we had in the first half of last year, and we all know that the players did not want to play for Lord Pierce. I am hoping that that is not the situation this year, because at this point we cannot have players pouting every time something doesn't go their way, that they decide that they're not going to play according to how they're supposed to be played. We let them get away with it last year. We knew that Lord Pierce was not that good. We were understanding, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to point at another coach again.
right?
And I
Okay.
think, again, like I said, if they're playing because they're not feeling what he's running, go to your coach, talk to your coach, tell him, hey, coach, can we add this in? Can we add these plays? Can I be used to? You can always talk to your coach. They should always have an open door for you. Mm-hmm.
So I have noticed that your away record is worse than your home record. So at home, you guys are 3-1. On the road, you're 1-4, I think. Um,
Yeah. No, no, on the road we are probably 1-3.
maybe that's right.
Okay.
Hold on, let me look. I just had it
I'm
up.
gonna look. I'm gonna look. Hold on a moment. On the road, we are one. Mm-mm. We lost against
I
Cleveland, that's one. We lost
and I
against the
have
Wizards, that's two. The 76ers, that's three. And then the Nets, that's four. So we
yeah.
are
So
1-4.
yep, that's what I thought. So
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
home record is 3-1. Your road record is 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, look, it's normal for the home record to be better than the road record, but good teams went on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously, I'm not saying that that's the main reason for like, the wins and the losses, but that seems to be a struggle for you guys this season. Was that an issue last year?
No, as a matter of fact, I think we had an 8 game road trip last year, and we did so well. Like I think we came with a winning record, probably lost maybe 2 or 3 games out of that 8 game road trip. So
Okay.
I was really happy for them. Again, like I said, it's early in the season to you know compare this year to last year because again, like I said, last year they did get off to a bad start. However, if I'm comparing this to last year, we played well last year at the beginning of the year, even though we were struggling. We played well. However, it felt like Lloyd Pierce was intentionally doing things to make them lose. Now,
Got you. So, I
mhm,
mean, one other thing too that's been out there, right, is
mhm,
Trey and whether or not he's being affected by the rule changes. He also made some comments about that, and he brought up some other players around the league like Dame and some others who were shooting, a little lower than their normal percentages, and just kind of hinting at the fact that the rule changes, I don't know, could be an issue. And then I know there's some other theories that are floating around about like the new balls because they went from Spalding to Wilson. And do you think any of that is affecting Trey? And if it is, like, I mean, do you just believe like he'll figure it out because he's a great player?
when players release shoes or have outside projects that they're concentrating on, it will impact their game. Because in order to be a star, you have to focus totally on leading your team. So, how many shoes has he released? And he's probably going to be mad about this.
So you think his focus is he's just not
he's
totally
really,
focused.
I think that he has other things like he's released what 2 or 3 shoes already beginning of the season. So, and it was the same thing with Donovan Mitchell, where Donovan Mitchell is not an Atlanta Hawks player, but I had noticed that when he had the release of his spider shoes, I believe it was, that his performance went down. And I remember at that time, as a normal fan, tweeting him saying, hey, you got to focus on the game. I have not tweeted that yet to Trae Young, but again, like I said, he has so many things going on. One being the release of his shoes, and of course, a coach who's probably implementing this system. And I feel
That's
like right
interesting.
now
So you don't think the rules are having any impact on him?
the rules. Keep in mind that Atlanta Hawks was one of the top teams in free throws. That wasn't just Trey Young. It was DeAndre Hunter. I think it was Capella. At one point, they were doing implementing the what? Well, not implementing, but they were doing the Hackapella thing, where to slow Trey Young down, they would just send Capella to the line, hoping that he would miss his free throws. Last year he was missing his free throws, but he worked on that. So again, like I said, it's not just a Trey Young factor. Um, DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter actually got a technical foul. As a matter of fact, there's been uptick in technical fouls among this team. I think that they're frustrated that the calls are not going both ways. And as a Atlanta Hawks fan, I do think that's the same thing. Trey is not asking for him to get the call. He's asking for it to be called fairly. And a lot of times teams can hack or whack the players or hawk players and they'll let it slide. But you breathe on an opponent, it's a foul. So I don't think that it's impacted Trey because Trey is still getting the same amount of shots. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think he had 20 shots last game and I think maybe 23, 26 shots the other game. I think he's shooting a lot. That's what I think is happening. He's shooting
Mm,
a lot more than I would like.
okay. Okay. So I mean, I think it's probably impacting him a little bit, but
Hmm.
I also think like he'll figure it out because he's a great player. Um, but I would defer to you on this because like I said, I don't watch the Hawks in and
I
out
think his
every night.
passing. I think his passing. Look at his assists. It went way down. We're used to Trey is not Steph Curry, where Steph Curry shoots a lot and probably more efficiently. Trey excelled in passing and scoring. While his scoring hasn't been as efficient as we'd like, he's a really good passer. But that passing
Yes.
hasn't been there. That's not foul related. That's a tray related, focus related, a focus issue.
No, that's a good point. That's a
And
great
I think in
point.
his interview, he said, the struggle is finding the players. You know what I mean, to score. I think he mentioned something about, you know, everybody wants to score, everybody wants to contribute, but some people have to sacrifice. Maybe he's saying that some people aren't going to get the ball as much as they like from him. And I think his problem is trying to figure out a balance in giving each one of his teammates enough touches that would satisfy them.
Do you
That's
think
been
he
his
needs to
biggest struggle.
sacrifice any? Because you hinted at him shooting maybe a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think what DeAndre Hunter was, what, 6 for 8 last game against the Utah Jazz. Only had one shot in the second half. One shot. Like,
Okay.
the Hawks have it. The Hawks are not going. They're just not going to the player who's hot at the moment. It's like they're going to continue to shoot until they get warm. Let me just shoot until I get hot or until I get a rhythm. But that's not the
Okay.
way it should be. It should be finding the players that are, hot or that are producing so that you can, you know, win a game.
I'm here looking up you guys' schedule right now. So that's why you
Oh
see me
yes.
looking
Oh my.
down because
You want to go? We
I
play Phoenix tonight.
you
We play
do. And
Phoenix
then
tonight.
you do. And that's a good team. So, and then you're going to play us after that. So, which is what we're going to get into a little bit. So, I mean, what are you expecting? Because they haven't been good on the road.
Mhm.
Um, the Suns are a good team. We're a good team. And then you guys have the Jazz and the Nuggets. This is like a West Coast trip, it looks like, for you guys. Four
Mhm.
game West Coast trip. Okay. So we're second in that trip. We're gonna be coming off of a back-to-back when we play you guys. I mean, we're at home, we're on a home stand
Mhm.
right now, but you guys would have had a night of rest, but you're still gonna be traveling and coming in. So both teams kind of have something against them. You guys are like in Phoenix and then you're flying and coming in and you're traveling, and the Warriors are going to be on a back to back, even though they're at home. So, and we're kind of hot right now. You know, we're 7-1, so we're playing well. Um, for me, that game makes me a little nervous. It feels like a trap game for me because I mean, I think they'll take a team like the Hawks seriously. So that's not what I'm worried about. But just with it being like, it's our first back to back. So I'm a little nervous about that. And the Hawks are still a team that can get hot at any time and kind of go on like, you know, a hot shooting spell. And you know, I just think that they're gonna want to like start to turn things around and like kind of, you know, I don't know. I'm worried that like I still think the Hawks are a really good team, I guess is what I'm saying. So they're 4-5 right now, but I think you guys are going to turn it around. And I'm like, I don't want y'all to turn it around on us. Like turn it around. Turn it around after you play the Warriors. But well, what are your expectations for like that game and the trip? Like what are you thinking?
My expectation is for Atlanta to just play team ball. Right now they're playing that it's my turn ball, like where everybody's just trying to get hot and everybody's focusing more on offense. Golden State is fourth in pace, and the Atlanta Hawks is what, 25th in pace, which
I
means
think our
that Golden
pace is
State
up even after last night's game. But yeah, we are up there in
is
pace.
four. No, it's four because it just updated.
Is
They're
this
fourth
updated?
in,
Okay.
which means that Golden State is going to run the Atlanta Hawks out of their arena, right? Because the Atlanta Hawks aren't good in transition. So, and again, like I said, I don't expect the Hawks to bring their pace up in one game because they play Phoenix before they get to you guys. It's not going to improve on the end. So if the Hawks don't take care of the ball, they're going to lose because Golden State is going to get out in transition.
We like to
Um,
turn the ball over though. We do.
but we don't get transition points.
We
I
don't
have no,
capitalize
and
on
you know
it.
what? We don't get a lot of transition points. The Hawk will rebound that ball and they will walk that ball up. For us to be so young, I have no idea why we play so slow. That's another thing I think has a lot to do with Nate. Golden State plays really fast, and Capella ain't gonna last. He's just not gonna last that long. If Capella goes hard on the boards, I can see the Hawks winning the game. because that would limit Golden State's, uh, possession, right?
We've
But
actually
I
been a
know
great
the Golden
rebounding
State have
team
been,
this
but
year.
I know that what I know is the Golden State has been collectively good. And in
Yeah.
previous years, it's been where Draymond Green or the center that you guys have would be the ones responsible for grabbing rebounds. But now it's like
Hmm.
collective. Once someone or a teammate is shooting the ball, another teammate is looking to get the rebound. That's what I like about Golden State. Georgia State, I mean not Georgia State, but Atlanta Hawks, no. They'll just watch it and then wait for it to come to them. But one of the things, it's a collective group, it's a collective effort. And if the Hawks, again, like I said, don't rebound, they're gonna lose because Golden State hasn't been one of those good rebounding teams. Looking at you guys are number one in 3-point percentage. I mean, 3-point field goals, you take more a lot, but you guys are third in 3-point field goal percentage. We are 19th. That's another difference. The Hawks have not been good in defending the 3-point. I mean, how many did the Brooklyn Nets shoot? Like 20 something threes, and then like, Utah Jazz came in and started shooting threes. Like
Yeah.
we're not good in defending the threes, so that's where I can see Golden State's advantage.
Yeah,
You guys
no,
are
I
third
mean,
in rebounding. We're fourth. I can't see any stats that we're leading. You guys are third. I mean, first in assists. We're 16th in assists. Like nothing in this indicate that the Hawks will win. Nothing.
no,
Nothing.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just here smiling because it's like it's been like 2 years since we've since we've been this team. So I'm sorry. I'm just here smiling because it's nice to hear you talking so kindly about my team. And I also know that struggle well of not defending the 3-point line because we were just that team last year.
Mhm.
Um, but the Hawks, the Hawks can though. I'm not saying that like they have the greatest personnel, but they can defend better because I watched it, right?
Mhm.
And they can play better. So I still right now believe the Hawks are gonna fix it and turn it around. It sounds like there's some things Nate has to change. Sounds like the
Mhm.
players need to get a little bit more focused. But like I guess for you, what is the point? So it sounds like you think like if Capella is special, and I don't know, maybe if you guys are having a really great shooting night, you'd give you guys a chance. But it seems like you're kind of giving us that edge. And of course
Well, let
I'm a
me give
Warriors.
you. Well, let me give you a credit. Only reason why Kenny Atkinson. Keep in mind, Kenny Atkinson played for Atlanta. I mean, he coached in Atlanta when we were that in 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was him, Quinn Snyder, Darvin Ham. I can't think of the other coach, but
You
Kenny
guys had a
Atkinson. I
lot of
don't.
great coaches on that bench.
Yeah, I
Quinn,
like
Kenny,
Kenny
oh my
Atkinson
God.
a lot.
All good
I think
coaches.
I think Kenny Atkinson has been great for Golden State because when you think about Kenny Atkinson, you think about the Brooklyn Nets,
Oh
D'Lo.
yeah.
Like so, when I look at the Warriors now, I look at a lot of what Kenny Atkinson implemented. No shade towards Steve Kerr,
Oh,
no
you can
shade,
shade him. That
but
doesn't that doesn't bother me.
the improvement of Golden State this year looking a lot different. Not only is it personnel, but it's because of Kenny Atkinson. He has a really good offense. That was probably one of my coaches that I was hoping that we would hire, that would get hired, not specifically for the Hawks, but that would get hired. So it's good to see him thriving. But going back to the game, I mean, if again, like I said, come down to Capella, but the stats indicate that the Atlanta Hawks just will not will not be for this matchup. I mean, you guys are 7-1 for the season. You're 4-1 at home, which means you hold home court really well, right?
Yeah, the game we
You're
lost was
seven.
to the Grizzlies, and we had 22 turnovers in that game. But it makes me nervous because it's a back to back. And so that's why I feel like Atlanta could come in and capitalize on that, if they're smart.
Well, Atlanta is on the road, so Atlanta is on the road, so they have to treat the road game the same way that they treat their home game. They came. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're good.
They came into the season saying that they wanted to make the State Farm Arena a hard place or a difficult place for opponents to play in. they're on their way to doing that, but they also have to make sure that they went on a road. Because what you and I really haven't discussed today is their division. The Atlanta Hawks have a tough division.
Hmm.
It is Miami Heat, who, in my opinion, is the best team in the NBA right now. The Warriors
They
is
had a
up
bad
there,
loss the other night.
but Miami is like when I talk about Miami, like they still have pieces that aren't there. I know you guys have pieces that aren't there, like Klay Thompson, but Miami
And
defends
James
really
Wiseman.
well. Hmm.
We have the best defense in the league though right now.
You do? Let me look. I'm gonna look
Yeah,
right now.
it just switched. We have the best defense in the league, and like the best since the Pistons. You know those
Well,
Pistons.
yeah, what Miami, like Miami to me, like they are really, really good. I mean,
They are.
they what I'm saying is that the Atlanta Hawks is in a division where there's other good opponents. There's Charlotte, and there's also Washington Wizards. You can't
The Wizards are
rely on
good.
them. Yeah, we can't rely on
Charlotte.
them to fall off. Yeah, what I'm saying, we can't rely on them to fall off. Remember last year, Charlotte was hot. They were in the top, what, 5, 6 seed last year, and then they just fell off. But what
I
I'm
think
saying is
Melo went down, right? He got hurt
yeah,
last year.
but teams are better. So the Hawks can't rely on teams to fall off. But I know the Hawks are down there with Milwaukee, with Brooklyn. They're trying their best to shoot up the East. But again, like I said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So we're 9 games in, and we just have to
Yeah,
see how they do. Mhm.
I don't know that I really see like a rebounding advantage for you guys right now. You should have a rebounding advantage, but the team has been rebounding well. So I just know because it just always happens when like teams play the Warriors. Like Trey's gonna be like lights out that day shooting. Like I just like see it. You're gonna all of a sudden like Herter is gonna be like back into form. So I expect it to be a close game. I think they're gonna shoot well, but I'm just kind of wondering overall, what are your thoughts on like what point in the season, like how long are you willing to be patient? Like what point do you need to start seeing the turnaround, for you to be like, okay, because they can't get too far down, right? And you guys want to have like good seeding for the postseason. You want to be like in a good place. So when do you expect it to, because you always kind of you said the writers are giving Nate time to implement his new system, which seems odd to me that it's like going more towards like mid-range shots. I think Jason Kidd is doing something similar in Dallas, but how much time? What's the time frame you're giving him?
Well, I'm not really giving them a time frame. The only thing I'm really telling the players is that a lot of the accolades that you're getting is based off the first half of the season, right? Such as the playoffs. And I know Trae Young was really upset that he didn't make the playoffs in Atlanta, right? He should have made it. This year, if you're not doing well as a team, any accolade that you want is just not gonna. It's
What
just
are you
not
talking
gonna
about?
happen.
All-star?
I'm talking about individual. Yeah, absolutely. Because a
Okay.
lot of times, like fan votes and things like that, it's much better in the East. So you can't guarantee that you're going to be, getting those fan votes because you're Trae Young. Again, as far as a deadline for them, I haven't given them a deadline because I'm right now thinking about the coaching staff. Should we add another coach with more experience other than Nate McMillan's son? I think you know who we hired? Van Exel. Van Exel.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm okay with Van Exel. I'm okay with I'm okay with Nate McMillan, but should we strengthen our coaching staff to accommodate the players? I want to try that first.
So, what would be success on this road trip? I mean, obviously you want to win every game, but like if they're 2-2, is that good? Do they need to be 3-1? If
I
they
would
come
prefer
back
3-1.
lose,
I prefer 3-1, right? Because you want to win more than you lose, right? So
obviously.
I'm hoping to win tonight. I'm hoping to win against the Warriors. I'm hoping to win against the I'm hoping they lost. I mean, I'm hoping that they come out 4-0, but if they lose a game, it will probably be the Jazz. We
Why the
almost beat
Jazz and not us?
I'm no, I'm saying I could see them as well, but I was just saying that
I'm teasing you.
I'm gonna try to think. Will Capella will probably outdo Draymond if he has his left. Who's John Collins? If we go to John Collins, I don't know who would be able to defend John Collins. And then Trey and Steph might equal out each other. Might I can't see
Steph is
one
like
of
a
the other.
top defensive guard this year. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Hmm.
Congrats. How many years has it been since he's been in the league? What, 2000?
Oh wow, you throwing
Yeah,
shade? Wow, wow.
no, because we are trying to get Trey there. So if Steph can get there, woo, if Steph,
Wow.
no,
Wow.
no. Listen to me. No, honestly, it's great. Why I say it's great because outside of Chris Paul, there's been no other and Isaiah Thomas. We haven't really talked about short point guards who play defense. So to hear that Steph is up there, I
I feel
didn't
like you're
know that.
patronizing me.
But no, but what I'm saying, no, but what I'm saying is that it bodes well for Trey Young in the future that he could see, oh, you know what? Here's a shooter. You know, Steph Curry. I was going to say Steph Young. Steph Curry is a shooter. He's one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. Out here leading, in defense, I can do it too. So it's motivational for someone such as Trey Young to see that Steph Curry. And I'm gonna make sure that I mention that to him. Can you repeat that again? Steph Curry is
Yeah, but
what?
Steph, no, his defensive rating is like one of the highest for guards right now. But I mean, Steph is taller than Trey. And the thing about it, Steph's defense has always been he's always been a great team defender, right? He's
Mhm.
also a good off-ball defender. People tend to like focus on ball, right? So the Warriors have always had a top defense. Like every year that we've contended, you've had a top defense. So if he was really as like horrific as people suggest, the defense just wouldn't be that good, And so he kind of doesn't get like fair coverage of his defense. And the last couple of years, it's definitely been like extremely better. But I mean, he led the league in steals before. Um,
Mhm.
One of his bad things is he used to reach a lot, right? But Steph is a pretty good defender. And a lot of defense is about effort, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
like with Trey, he's just gonna be limited because I mean he's really truly a small guard. Like people think Steph is, but he's 6'3". He's not really that small. But so Trey is
Trey
at a
is 6'1".
disadvantage. Huh?
Trey is 6'1".
Oh, okay. But still, that's
Just like
still
2 inches too.
but he's a small guard.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
not trying to say
But
that to knock him.
I mean not Trey, but Steph wasn't always Steph put on muscles. You notice that,
Yes,
right? Like so it's been a while, but Steph was considered small by frame wise, not height wise, frame wise. But I've been
absolutely.
noticing Steph Curry lately, them arms look a little bulky. And I was
Yeah.
hoping, like I said, I was hoping that
Aisha's
if
man
Trey
is looking a little good. He's looking a little good.
hmm, is he
Aisha's
looking
man is
good?
looking a little good.
He looking a little thick. Yeah, I see him. I see him. But he's Curry has added more like weight so that he wouldn't get back down as easy. So it's been helpful to him. And like I said, I'm hoping that Trey Young will look at that and add more muscle mass so that.
But I think it's Trey's effort too, right? Like, I mean, he has to be committed to that end. And it seemed like last year he was buying in. Is he still doing the same thing? Like, do you feel like he's completely
I don't even
bought
know
in?
what the scheme is. I don't even know what the scheme is. I don't know. Like to be honest with you, we don't know who's doing what. The only to be honest with you, John Collins is improving in defense. I'm gonna give him credit for that. He is really improving in defense. And again, we mentioned DeAndre Hunter. He's the best defender on the team.
Yeah.
But it's not Trey that's the weakest link. It's
Who's the
Bogey,
weakest?
Bogdanovich.
Okay. Yeah. He's not a great defender.
He will literally foul a fast break every time. And I'm like, just let him go. I would rather let him go than a foul for a fast break.
It's interesting. They have a rule they're looking at to address that, like, fouling on the fast break.
And I thought about him. I thought about him. What we're gonna do then?
Okay. So we'll see. I mean, I actually think it's going to be a good matchup. I think. What were we going to say? Go ahead.
Trey has played really well on defense as far as getting steals, being a help defender. I think the one game that he didn't do as well in was in the Brooklyn Nets game, where he was responsible for covering Joe Harris. Is that his name? And I felt like he was overhelping too much, overhelping, and he didn't need to, because every time he went over to help, Joe Harris was shooting a wide open three. So
okay.
He's been working hard. I can't give him that, but he can do better. They all can do better.
So, all right, I grew a lot of respect for Trey actually last year in the postseason. I was pretty impressed by him. I didn't love his recent comments, but I was impressed by what I saw. And so I think they're going to turn it around. I'm nervous about them turning it around when they play us, but mostly because it's a back-to-back for us. I think we're going to be a little lethargic. And so I think if there's a game that Atlanta can try to take advantage of, it's going to be that one. Look, it's going to be a test for us because you need to win back-to-backs, right? And Atlanta's a good team. Like, despite their record, they're a good team. And so I think it's a good test for us. And I know you guys can sometimes shoot the ball. Not sometimes shoot the ball. You guys have shooters on the team. So I just hope one of those hot streaks don't happen during the game. But I just feel like it's going to be a good close game. So that's what I think is going to happen. I just want to touch on one more thing really quickly before we wrap up. But, earlier we were talking about the issue that occurred with the comments that were made. And who was it that got fired again?
Lloyd Pierce.
No. The comments about the African player.
Oh, you mean Danny Ferry?
Danny Ferry. There you go. The name was at the tip of my tongue. So, yeah. So, I mean, but in that situation, you were like, look, he didn't actually make the comments, but he was kind of the fall guy, right? And I don't know how much of an impact that had on when that happened, the players in the org. But there's another story around the league right now with Sarver, and actually, last night news broke for the Blazers, right? One of their executives is also under investigation. So a lot of stuff happening around the league. But with Sarver, a lot came out of allegations, misogyny, discrimination, lots of different claims. So the NBA is investigating. They're starting an investigation. What do you think is going to happen there? Or what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's another Clippers situation? Is he going to be forced out? Have you even had a chance to look into that story and form any opinion about it?
I think that Earl Watson indicated that he had some issues with the owner. I guess as far as how he played. We always have issues with owners overstepping the boundaries. Owners should own, and the owner should be just an owner, right? They have people that they report to, which is the GM, the executive. They report to them based on what they're doing out in the field. And then the owner make the decision whether or not they want to pay for it, right? The GM gives them their vision, and the owner pays for the vision. And a lot of times we see owners overstepping their boundaries. That's what happened with the Atlanta Spirit Group with the Atlanta Hawks. They couldn't agree on anything. They were overstepping each other's boundaries. They would backbiting each other. In this case, not only did I hear that he's racist, but he was misogynist, right? Meaning that he had issues with women, and they usually go hand in hand. You notice that when it's racism, it's also issue with women, right?
Right.
And the African American women, right? We fit both, so it's really hard for me to it's really hard for me to see our roles in sports, right? When both we're black and then we're women. And then we hear these comments from these owners, from these, these coaches, because, with the 49ers and things of that nature. In my opinion, a lot of them feel that way. A
Yeah.
lot of them, a lot of them like us because we make the money. A lot of them like us because we are they're we're safe blacks. With the ones that come off aggressive, they don't like. The ones that speak their mind, they don't like. They don't sometimes like to be told that they're wrong, especially a billionaire, right?
Right.
And coach probably told him no, and now he's calling something behind his back, right? Because
I
who are
don't
you to
think
change me? Hmm.
I don't think for us this was like news to us, right? Like I don't think there was any
Hmm.
black person that was surprised by this. We probably think many of the owners are like this. And I mean, you guys dealt with, when I say you guys, Atlanta dealt with this with the WNBA team that's there as well, right? Um so you have some experience in like ousting an owner, getting rid
But
of
with
them on the
her,
WNBA side.
she wasn't really. I don't think she just wasn't a good fit. I mean, I didn't think she was that way. Let's just be honest with you. And I don't think she was never real. That's what they are. They're just not real. They're not gonna get any money, which she wasn't really getting. I'm not gonna be honest. She wasn't really getting any money, so it was almost like she was charity. Like she didn't really have to own the Atlanta Dream. I'm gonna be upfront with you. The WNBA loses more money than they actually make, other than like the last couple of years where the ratings have been high. Her issue with that, she's a Republican. She's totally against everything that the WNBA stands for. And the WNBA is LGBT. So for her to be anti or want to pass anti-LGBT legislation, it didn't go right with the league. It didn't go right with the players. So she had to go.
Right.
Um, but I've never met her face to face, but I've probably shaken her hand and said, good job. I probably tweeted things about how I admired her because a lot of times these teams are co-owned by NBA teams, but the Atlanta Dream was actually co-owned by women. And as a woman, I saluted that. And for her to be the person for her to reveal who she really was, saddened me. And
Okay.
I was really, really taken aback. Um, Angel McCoughtry, Angel McCoughtry liked them or liked her, and it was shocking to Angel McCoughtry. I don't even think Angel McCoughtry really spoke on it. I think that she was, sometimes people are Republicans. I felt like she ran just to. I don't think that was her. She was a Manchurian candidate. You know what a Manchurian candidate is?
Mm-hmm. So
The
yeah,
puppet for
I mean,
someone. The puppet. She's the puppet for
yeah,
someone
no,
who wants. So,
absolutely.
and she acted her role. The same thing with Sarah Palin back in the day when Barack Obama was running. They
Yeah,
used
I'm not so forgiving. I mean, they
okay.
could be puppets, but they
What,
signed on for it.
and
So
what you would notice in the Republican Party is they don't even respect the Caucasian women, right? But what they would do is they would use them as candidates to get those suburban votes. They really wanted her to get those soccer mom votes. But again, like I said, I don't want to go into politics because I don't really
right.
care anymore. But it was really good to see them take a stand. And going back to the Sarver situation, this is Chris Paul's second incident, right? The second
Second team
incident.
he's been on involving an owner,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Chris Paul would have figured it out based on his encounter. So I'm just shocked that we know that Chris Paul didn't see through this owner,
Yeah, I
being that
see a
he
lot of
still
people. I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your
No, go
statement.
ahead. You can go ahead.
No, I mean, I see, the thing about it is like, it's a hard situation because I don't think that like Chris Paul, Monty, any of these people were not like aware. I'm not saying that they knew all of these details. And I'm not even saying that like they witnessed anything. But like the way that you said you weren't surprised by this, like we all know that a lot of these owners how they think, right? We know this. We know this is black people. And so but you still have a job to do and you still have to get paid by these people. There's only so many teams in the league you can play for, so it's a difficult position because you have to work for these people knowing that they may not really like you. And so I don't really kind of put that on the players that much because there's only so much. I don't know. It's a difficult situation. They got to still earn their living for their family. And it's like, if you're really going to stand up, you probably got to stand up against most of the owners in the league because I don't think that Sarver is unique. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, so
I don't think he's unique.
let's go over. Okay, so let's just go over what is being, thrown at this owner, right? They're saying that he allegedly used the N word in front of Earl Watson.
Right.
If he did use that word in front of Earl Watson, why didn't Earl Watson notify anyone? That's a no-no. Like, that's just a no-no. You just cannot call a person the N-word in front of them or behind their back. It's just
Well, so he didn't, I don't think he called him that. He was like saying the word. It was in reference to like Draymond Green, actually, ironically, and he's like, if he can say it, why can't I say it? And he just like kept saying the word. And Earl is saying that he told him, you can't say that, you can't use that word. And he's like, why not? But like, then there were like other people who said that he's used the word. So like, no one, I don't think ever alleged that he directly called them N word, but he's used the word. And there was another, I think, quote like along the lines of like, we need to hire N words because they'll relate to other. So but in terms of, because I'm an employment lawyer, so in terms of like why people report and don't report, we should never ever ask the question like, you like, again, Earl was like, he's a coach and there's not many black head coaching jobs, right?
True.
So again, you could say like, well, why didn't he speak up? And he's speaking up now. He went on the record. Most people didn't. And he didn't have to do that because, like he said in his statement, he has the privilege to do that. But again, there aren't many black coaching jobs. So that was like a few years ago. He might be thinking, will I be able to get another head coaching job? Like it's not easy. So we have different considerations when these things happen to us that like white people just don't have to consider, right? Like they can go report, but we could report, and even though we were wronged, we could still get blacklisted later.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, because it's the owner who decides whether or not he wants to spend the money on the recommendation of the gym. So you're absolutely right. And once it gets out that a coach told on another coach, and you know that you're racist, you know you use those words, then of course you don't want that coach around you, because you want to continue to use that N word just as well, as Sarver did. So I agree with you on that. Thanks for correcting me on that. So it should
No,
never, we should never
no.
want. No, you're
I hope
good,
it
because
didn't.
we should never blame victim or ask why they didn't tell us. So many reasons why victims do not come forward, and Earl Watson is a victim. So I do, in no way am I saying that it's his fault or he should have. He is a victim in all of this, and in fact, I hope they figure out the real reason why he was fired and give him another
Yeah,
coaching opportunity.
it's going to be interesting. And now with this other workplace investigation starting in Portland, I just wonder how many more of these are going to like come out, right? And if more, because you had Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if that was last season or the season before, but you had like all that stuff that came out over there. So you just have stuff coming out about like these orgs. And I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see where it all goes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I
Listen,
said, I just the WNBA. I mean, not WNBA, but the NBA really doesn't really don't need this right now. It's too early in the season, but I mean, it's a dark cloud. You know, it's a dark cloud over the NBA right now, having to deal with this and what's going on in Portland.
yeah.
But we also know that Portland has issues because they're still trying to figure out whether or not Damian Lillard should remain with the team or go join another team and contend, right? And then we also know that the issue with Phoenix not re-signing or negotiating with their star center, right, DeAndre. So a lot of times I do find things like the timing of things odd. Like even the timing when the reports was leaked about Danny Ferry, it was odd because we were in the middle of trying to sign free agents or make a trade deadline deal, and this pops up, you know. So it's always the timing, and I just feel like sometimes like who's leaking this, like
Yeah, I
was
was
it something that somebody sat on and they decided, okay, well, I can't get my word. This is not happening. I'm just gonna go ahead and leak it now.
right. I was in a spaces
Mhm.
like when, because I think about maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, there was a reporter, I don't remember his name, who kind of leaked that this story was coming on the Phoenix Suns, but he wasn't the person writing the story, but he knew about it. And so people were talking and people were like kind of equating it to DeAndre Ayton. And I said, depending on what comes out and like what did eventually come out, there's no way that I think it has anything to do with DeAndre Ayton because the amount of information, 70 people reporting allegations,
Mm.
this had to have been something that he was working on for a long time, right? And so even when that guy said it, it still didn't come out, the actual report, for like 2 weeks later, right? So he's been interviewing people and interviewing witnesses, and so I can't say that's always the case for everyone. And I get definitely your inclination to think that. But in that particular situation with the Suns, I don't think there's any coincidence between Aiton and this. I just think like there was some shit going on in Phoenix, and it's come to light. So we'll see. We'll see. The NBA has opened up an investigation. They hired a really good firm, so we'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Listen, Mo, it was great having you on today. I'm so thankful that you came to chat about your Hawks with me. May the best team win, but I'm hoping it's my team. So I hope you guys go 3-1, but I hope that one loss is to the Warriors. No, really. Thank you so much, girl. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
let's oh, my pleasure. Guys, follow Mo. She's good, especially if you want to know a little bit about the Hawks, and she's just like a great person. So follow her. Her Twitter, as usual, will be posted in the show. And make sure, guys, if you like what you're hearing, if you're on audio, please rate the show, review the show. I'm really appreciative so far of the support for all that. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like, download on your favorite, preferred streaming platform. All those things really help and support me as a content creator. And definitely, I like the feedback and comments because just let me know what you want to hear, like me to do better, questions. I produce this content because I love doing this, but I want it to be something that my listeners are enjoying. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mo, for joining. And we'll see the Hawks on Monday.
Yes. Go
All right.
Hawks.
Later, girl.
Bye bye.